Hello and welcome to another episode of Rob's Ramblings here on the Bucks and Six channel. Today at the Brown Table of Sports Card Collecting, we are doing a VR to recognize and honor my good friend Brent Richards, who has reached the milestone of 700 subscribers. So congratulations, Brent. This is, if you don't know Brent, I don't know why you're watching my channel. But Brent, if you don't know him, here he is. This is a custom-made card of him. He has an affinity for that 1984 Donruss set. That's his favorite set. So this is his custom-made card with his own image on it. I was fortunate enough to land card number 48 of 300 from Brent's collection. So we've got that card center stage here on the brown table today. I've got a couple of other cards that represent Brent. This is another one that he sent me. If you watch his channel at all, you know he's got a love for Nolan Ryan and Nolan Ryan cards. This is one of his favorite cards of Nolan Ryan holding the Bo Jackson card. Nolan knows Bo. And then and the last one that I have here that represents Brent is this one over here. This is another card I was fortunate enough to land from my good friend Brent, who made this custom card. This is a Frank Thomas card that he made himself out of a photograph that he took himself, and this was a 2 of 5. So this is a fairly rare specimen. So I've got those up here in the background, all representing Brent. And this VR is all about Brent. Brent, when he reached his 700 subscribers, made a call out for people to do VRs about their best hobby memory. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do. Now, Brent, I got to tell you, man, this was an impossible task. Been collecting cards for 50 years here almost, and I've got to pick one moment that's my most memorable moment of collecting. That's pretty tough to do. And I've got hundreds and hundreds of memories and moments that I could probably pick out of a hat, and any one of them would be just as relevant as any other one. But I had to pick one, so I settled on one. And as you can see, there are some other items out here on the brown table of sports card collecting, and they all have a theme. Here we have a 1980 Topps autographed Jim Gantner card. I've got a Jim Gantner bobblehead. I've got a pin here from the 1982 Milwaukee Brewers, who made it to the World Series. That's the best end season result that my Brewers have ever had in making it to the World Series, although we lost. And then over here, I've got a Jim Gantner rookie card. So my memory is going to be tied to Jim Gantner, as you can see. Now, Brent gave us some very specific guidelines, and I'm going to kind of bend the rules a little bit because he's done VRs in the past where he had people tell their favorite ballpark memories, and he specifically said that this was supposed to be a memory that is tied to the hobby. And I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to tie a ballpark memory or a couple of them to my hobby memory, and hopefully that's okay with you, Brent. So why did I choose Jim Gantner? He's a light-hitting, obscure player from a small market team, and not too many collectors are too interested in Jim Gantner. But here I am. I'm talking about Jim Gantner because when I was a kid, obviously the Brewers, if you've watched my channel, you know that the Brewers are my team, and my collecting in this hobby really is born out of my love of my teams. I don't know that I would be a card collector if I wasn't a fan of the teams first. So while I do love the hobby, and I'm growing to love the cards of players from all over just as much as I love my Brewer cards, my original draw to the hobby was connected to the Brewers. So my VR today tied to Jim Gantner. I want to explain why Jim Gantner was a favorite of mine. We had, when I was a young kid, I had a a team that I played for I played the second base, and Jim Gantner was the second baseman for the Brewers. And so because I was a little kid and I played second base, and I just kind of looked up to Jim Gantner because he was the Brewers second baseman. So that's how I first started to have this affinity and love for Jim Gantner. Well, as I got older, my my fandom still grew with him, and I got to be in high school and a teenager. And in 1987, Jim Gantner hit a home run on June 14th, and then 1988 rolled around, and he had not hit a home run since that June 14th home run. And then 1989 rolled around, and he hadn't hit a home run still since that June 14th, 1987. And then another year rolled around, and Jim Gantner still had not hit a home run since that June 14th, 1987 game. So he had gone well over 3 years without hitting a home run. So my buddies and I and my brother, we all made a pact. We agreed that if Jim Gantner ever hit a home run ever again, we would all stop what we were doing and we would drive up north to our cabin, and we would jump into the lake with our clothes on and swim out to our raft in celebration of Jim Gantner hitting this home run. We didn't think that we would ever have to pay off on that because Jim Gantner was getting up in age and he hadn't hit a home run in over 3 years. So thought we were pretty safe. But here comes 1991, September 3rd. It's a little bit chilly on September 3rd in northern Wisconsin. And in 1991, on that date, over 4 years after he hit his previous home run, Jim Gantner finally hit a home run. And so my buddies and my brother and we all stopped what we were doing. And my parents knew about this pact that we had made. And my dad was going to make darn sure that we followed through on our agreement to do this. So my dad got into the car, and my brother and I obviously were at home. We got in the car, and my dad drove, picked up my other buddies at their house. And at that point, it was a night game. And it was like in the late innings. I want to say he hit this home run in like the 7th inning. So it was dark and it was cold. But my dad drove all of us up there, as me and my brother and my two friends, Mike and Terry, who I've talked about on this channel before. We drove up to the lake and we jumped in and we celebrated, and we were a little bit loud in the middle of the night, and it kind of upset some of the neighbors. And one of the neighbors actually got out a shotgun and shot off in the air and yelled at us that we were making too much noise in celebration of Jim Gantner's home run. But we didn't care because we were just having a good old time. And then, lo and behold, it was like 3 days later, Gantner went 4 years without hitting a home run. And then 3 days later, on September 6th, he hit another home run. So that's just an oddity. The man hadn't hit a home run in over 4 years, and then he hit 2 home runs in a span of 3 days. But anyways, this was all part of the Gantner legend for all of us. And so to add more to this, in the following season, in 1992, my family went down to a Brewer game in middle of August. It was August 14th, and we went to see a doubleheader, and the Brewers were playing the Red Sox. The Brewers were having a decent season that year. Actually, they were in contention, chasing down the Red Sox. And wouldn't you know it, on this day, on August 14th, 1992, Jim Gantner hit a walk-off home run off of Jeff Reardon to win the first game of that doubleheader. And my goodness, you can imagine the delirious cheering that was happening with my family, knowing how rare these home runs by Jim Gantner are. And anyway, we had a blast, and this was long before cell phones ever were in existence. So I still remember going up to the concourse after Gantner hit this walk-off home run. I think it was in the 13th inning. And I used a payphone to call my friend Mike just to kind of celebrate with the moment with him, even though he wasn't there. I just had to call them and celebrate too. My brother was at the game with me, with my parents. So we had a good time. All of this just kind of built this legend of why we love Jim Gantner so much. Now, fast forward many years later. We're gonna say 30 some plus years later. I'm now married, and my wife has actually hijacked this channel. And my so you a little bit. Some of you that have watched the channel know her a little bit. My wife is a big part of my collecting now. She's embraced my hobby, and I really appreciate that. And she when she first got into the card collecting, she wasn't. I mean, she's not a huge sports fan, so she has been good at finding like the shiny cards and the pretty cards and cards of the superstar players. But there was a moment where I knew that Mrs. Buxton Six, my wife, had really embraced the hobby. And that moment came when she showed me with a gift that she understood some things about this hobby that go beyond just the shine of the cards and the superstar players. Because one Christmas gift, I was just stunned, speechless when I opened this card, and it ties in perfectly with my good friend Brent Richards. When my wife gave me this card for Christmas, if you know, you know. But this is a Jim Gantner PSA 10 1984 Donruss. When I opened up this card, I knew that my wife had this deeper understanding of the hobby. There's nothing shiny about this card, but if you grew up collecting baseball cards in the era that I grew up, you know how special this set is. The 1984 Donruss is the gold standard from the 80s. And obviously, Jim Gantner has a pretty deep meaning too. So, receiving this card from my wife, I can't say that it's my number one moment because I have 120 number one moments because they're all so precious to me. But this moment, getting this card from the woman who saved my life, who I love dearly, that is a pretty cool moment in the hobby for me. So, with that, Brent, congratulations on your 700 subs. I hope you enjoyed my story. I hope it fit your VR guidelines. I tied in some ballpark moments and other baseball memory, but it's all tied together with the 1984 Donruss, which ties to you. So, congratulations, Brent. Until next time, everybody, enjoy the hobby and stay true to yourself.